So now let's actually make some changes to our configuration. As you see, we haven't given names to our resources. So basically our subnet doesn't have a name and our VPC doesn't have a name either. But it would be good to have a name to differentiate it from other resources. So let's make that change in our configuration. So again, we're telling Terraform, we want the desired state to be subnet with this configuration and a certain name, and another subnet with this configuration and some name, and a VPC. And Terraform needs to figure out what changes it needs to apply to the current state to give us the new desired end result. So how do we give names to the resources? We do that by adding a parameter called tags. And as you know, tags are key value pairs in AWS, and you can add it to any resource in AWS, and you can have arbitrary key value pairs. So basically you can have the tag key value pair being my key, my value. So basically these are the names that you can decide yourself. For example, this is the VPC environment for develop, whatever. However, there is one key attribute reserved for name, and that is name. So if we specify a name tag and set it to some value, let's set it to development, basically this will be assigned as a name and it will appear right here. And we're going to do the same for the subnets as well. And tags are basically something that you can define for any resource. So this attribute exists for all the AWS resources. And let's say subnet 1 dev. And let's say this is subnet default, whatever. This is a default subnet. In actual scenarios, you will have maybe more descriptive names here. And we can also add another tag here. And let's actually call it VPC environment and dev and save it. And now if we do Terraform apply, we have a bunch of output here. So let's actually go through the changes and see what happened here. So first of all, you see another icon here with a slightly yellowish color, which is the tilde character. So basically, plus was for creating a resource and tilde is for a change. So this means that we are changing an existing resource, an AWS subnet resource with dev subnet 1 name, and inside that resource we are changing the tags attribute, and we are adding a new tag which is a name. And you also see that we have 8 other attributes that will be unchanged. And the same goes for this resource, and for VPC we are adding 2 tags. So tilde is for change, right? We're changing an existing resource. And if we enter yes, Terraform will execute all the changes. And now if we go back to our AWS console and refresh, you see the name development appeared here, as well as in the tags section, right? So these are the list of tags that we can assign as many tags as we want. And also in the VPC, we have a subnet name, which also has tags. Now, what happens if we want to remove something from an existing resource? Let's say we want to remove this tag here. And now if we apply, you see another character, which is minus, and it is in red color. So basically, again, Terraform went ahead and calculated what is the current state. The current state was basically this, right? And it gets the current state from AWS. And since we removed this, Terraform correctly decided that the current state needs to be updated by removing this tag from the VPC resource on AWS. And the minus basically means removal or deletion. And this is, again, we're changing a resource, and inside that resource, we're removing a tag. So we can apply that as well. And if we refresh our VPC and go to tags, the tag has been removed. Now, what if we wanted to remove the whole resource? Let's say we don't want the subnet 2 anymore. Now, there are two ways of removing a resource that we don't need anymore. One option is to remove the resource from Terraform file, right? So if we basically just remove this, again, Terraform will compare the current state, which is we have a subnet in default VPC, and the desired state, which is no subnet resource specified for default VPC. Terraform will decide this resource needs to be removed. So if we do Terraform apply again, here you see that the whole resource is marked with a minus because this resource will be removed, of course, including all the attributes. Now let's actually type in whatever, something other than yes, and apply will be cancelled, and revert this. Now the second option to remove a resource is using Terraform command, Terraform destroy, and passing in the resource name, right? So we are specifically removing this resource right here. And we are passing in a target because we are deleting a single resource. And the way we provide the target name is by the resource type and resource name. Right? So we have the resource type given by provider and the name that we gave resource ourselves. And this will tell Terraform to destroy this one specific resource. So let's actually execute this. And again, similar to Terraform apply, we see the same output, which tells us that the subnet 2 resource will be destroyed. Again, summary, 1 to destroy. And we have to confirm this action. Let's actually confirm and say yes. And destroy complete. So if we refresh this list here, there you go, the 4th subnet is gone. Now you're probably asking which of these two options is the way to go, which one you should use. And the answer to that is actually Terraform apply. Why? Because if you destroy specific targets using Terraform destroy command and with target tag, you end up with a configuration file that doesn't actually correspond to the current state, because you still have that resource inside your configuration file. And especially if you're working in a team and you destroy or change resources using commands and not the configuration file, you basically have a difference between the current state and what's in the configuration file. And again, as a best practice of infrastructure as code, code should represent the changes made to the infrastructure and the resources. So all of the changes should be made through the configuration files. So I would suggest you to use Terraform apply and to make the changes through configuration files instead of commands directly.